Another commentary done by Diggity on behalf of StarCastTV. 12 o'clock location, we have Queen starting as the purple Zerg. Bottom right hand corner, we have Soulkey starting as the brown Zerg. This is on Neo-Sylphid, 3-player map. EO Fun, I believe that is the group who sponsors these show matches. I wish there was a way for the foreigner community to actually contribute to a lot of these, because these have been amazing. These two guys, incredible players. Queen plays a very macro-oriented Zerg style, and just is so hard to beat, so challenging to beat. And Soulkey is Soulkey. Both these guys are ferocious, and really the top level, I think I've mentioned it multiple times before, these guys are in the space of my top 3-4 Zerg players. So to see them go head to head, I think it's a treat. Because it's a 3-player map, this is Neo-Sylphid, we might end up seeing some interesting late game macro play. I feel like Zerglings are a bit stronger, however, so it could end up with some Zergling on Zergling action, simply because there's no ramp on Neo-Sylphid, which means you can't really do the concavity sort of thing and blockade as easily as you can on other maps. A little bit less effective with the vision things. I'm not sure how it messes with Zergling AI. Overlord being sent to the 9 o'clock location by Queen. Overlord is going to make it at the 12 o'clock location for Soulkey to get initial scouting information. Looks like we're seeing a 12 pool from Soulkey, and we're seeing a, I don't think that was an overpool. I think that was a 9 hat, or a 9 pool. So 9 pool, not sure how he said 9 hatch there. 9 pool with gas to follow. So Queen either opting for early layer or opting for early Zergling speed. Time will tell. Theoretical economic lead goes to Soulkey, however, with the later pool and earlier Overlord. And also, this is going to be absolutely monumental, being able to wander in and get that information. 6 Zerglings initially being produced. Hopefully larvae. I assume we're going to see 6 on the opposite side. There is going to be a window where there's going to be more gas. We'll see if Zergling speed gets upgraded first, or if it's just a straight tech to layer as we hit 100 gas. Looks like it is going to be, in fact, the tech to layer. Zerglings making their way out. The Overlord sees it. Natural expansion being grabbed. And 4 Zerglings and an additional pair of Zerglings being built. Curious if we're going to see Zergling speed on the opposite side from Soulkey, or if we're going to see a tech to layer. It looks like we are going to see the Zergling speed opposite corner. So overall, could be a challenging defense for Queen, going up against more larvae potentially. So Queen's got to do some work here. Zerglings and drone coming off the line, just to make this drone makes it slight advantage to Soulkey. That's kind of clever, just pulling one drone out to protect the hatchery, to make sure there's additional troops on the ground. 2 Zerglings making their way out, because he knows he has, with this build, the single drone lead economically, and as soon as this hatchery comes online, he doesn't have to worry about larva problems. And on top of that, Queen's going to have to worry about Soulkey coming out him with the Zergling flood, which is going to be a challenge to defend. Queen backing out with these Zerglings. I'm hoping he pockets. This is the one advantage you can get out of this, is sneaking, doing this, breaking some Zerglings out, moving to the corner, going for backstabs to frustrate your opponent. Zergling speed just about finishing. Lair about halfway finished, as Lair is complete opposite side. Spire morphing in the background now for Queen. Queen on the defensive, getting a good surround on one initial Zergling, which is going to leave a superior attack force on the ground for him. But you have Zergling speed. Doesn't matter as much, though, because now this is on open ground. So if Queen can hold this, he can get at least a Mutila scout in the air somewhat earlier. Spire about halfway finished, as the layer not yet finished. 2 Zerglings sneaking in the rear to go ahead and potentially get a drone kill. Pretty good micro on Soulkey's part. Some Zerglings returning home to go ahead and deal with it. So Queen doing everything right here to get into an advantage despite the early economic disruptions. 5 drone lead, however. Drones pulling off the line. So going to negate some of that. As you can see, the 5 drones off. They just know. They're like, okay, I'm 5 drones ahead instinctually. I can pull 5 drones right here, and it isn't going to hurt my economic lead. 1 Zergling chasing versus the 2. They're going to run around in the base and create chaos, but the Spire just about finished in Queen's base. He's got an inferior larva count, but he is going to have Mutalisks out in the air much more rapidly. Lair finish, and actually with these Zerglings running around, might be able to delay Actually, did they? I think a Zergling died in the line there. Another group of Zerglings died, but no Spire as of yet from Soulkey. There's the Evolution Chamber to try to play the macro, long-term macro game as far as a follow-up. This is going to give Queen air control, and I will say most of the Zerg games I have seen where one player is able to hold and get the early Mutalisk advantage and get that first Overlord kill, more often than not, it ends up being a superior air fleet over the long haul. Zerglings crashing towards that natural expansion as Queen trying to grab that base, forcing a cancellation. That is huge, actually. Going to deny that second gas, might even be able to get a drone out of it. So continued economic lead overall. The Mutalisks now 4, engaging, chasing those Zerglings back to the natural expansion. Spore colony being built. One is already there to potentially protect that second gas. Looks like 2 are already in place at the main, which is going to open up an opportunity for Soulkey to go ahead and grab his Spire. Natural expansion now being planted by Queen. And Queen continuing to grow that Mutalisk count. It tends to be a race at this stage. He's going to see what he can... The Zerglings huddling around that Evolution Chamber to have the protective defense of that Spore colony. Actually huddling around that Spore colony. Nice. That's kind of... I don't know. There's something visually appealing about that. The Zerglings hugging, putting their nose to the Spire somehow. I like that. Mutalisk looking to the natural, do manage to get 2 drone kills, worth the damage on the Mutalisk. Gas being grabbed. Spire just about a third finished, a single Zergling being caught out in the field to deny scouting information. So right now, still an economic... Ooh, more Zerglings running out, but being spotted immediately, and again being pulled back. So Soulkey still holds the overall drone lead, is able to get that second gas. But again, the Mutalisk count grows, and there's a certain point where when the Mutalisk count is large enough, these spores do not matter anymore. Zerglings starting to crash down to engage the Zerglings that sweat through. Soulkey pulling them around, doing a good split off, so that's going to draw some of the Zerglings off, and these Zerglings can be able to hide now. The rest of the Zerglings grouping up to potentially engage a counterattack. One Zergling somehow making it all the way to the main to get a good look at that drone count, so Soulkey getting critical scouting information here. Spire is up, so now the Mutalisk count can start to grow on his side of the map, but 5 Mutas already out in the air, and I assume there's going to be another Mutalisk spawning here shortly in the background, so still holding the 6 superior 6 air count. Second extractor being grabbed. Drone count hasn't equalized, but it's gotten much closer, 15 versus 17 at this stage. Mutalisk now starting to spawn for Soulkey. He's taken negligible damage, and with all of the gas he's accumulated, it looks like he, and especially with the delays of that natural expansion hatchery, with 1 round of larva, he has suddenly equalized that air force. Wandering out, pecking away at this Overlord, which is going to put Queen in the red. Mutalisk cleaning up some Zerglings that were attacking midfield, so able to get something accomplished there. The Zerglings going to maybe try to hide at that 3 o'clock location, instead getting caught, and a few of them getting picked off as well. But now, Soulkey, both having Queen in the red, having a superior count, and suddenly having an air fleet that is, first of all, healthier and larger, potentially can turn the game around at these stages of the match. Otherwise, if Queen just can sneak 2 more drones somehow as he proceeds, might be able to get back into this. A single creep colony being dropped, the Zergling going to spot it. Getting picked off, it's making his way through. One huge advantage for Soulkey, though, is first of all, he's hidden Zerglings there at the 3 o'clock. Second of all, having that slight drone count, but most of all, having these spores where he can go ahead and absorb a little bit of damage from Queen's air fleet as he sneaks out, should he be caught off guard, which allows him to do more of this wandering on the map, eating a lot of Scourge hits there, trying to follow up at closer positions. Both players picking off each other's Scourge incredibly well, but it looks like, despite both players keeping the overall Mutalisk count even, 2 are heavily damaged on Soulkey's part, so might end up dying rapidly. So more health overall on Queen's part, but across fewer Mutalisks. And again, being pushed into red with that Overlord getting picked off. So Soulkey continuing to climb an overall supply lead, picking off 1 drone critically on that gas, able to sneak back out with only a little bit of damage on that Scourge, re-engaging, able to pick off a Mutalisk that was just sitting there, and re-engaging. Keep in mind, Carapace 1 is not there, so Queen's Mutalisks do hit harder, so he's going to mix it up heads up. The Zerglings sprinting forward for a counterattack, so more Mutalisks here for Queen, 6 versus 5. And that actually evens the supply count, but Queen's still down 3 drones overall. Anybody's game at this stage. Soulkey still holds the overall lead. Looks like he's feeling comfortable enough to go ahead and tack on a few additional drones. Zerglings on the ground hugging that Sentinel colony to make sure those Zerglings that are still latently out there for Soulkey aren't able to sweep across and do some damage. Overlord's kind of hiding out here and also providing maybe some of the control needed. Need him out at a distance to help control those Mutalisks. 10 Mutalisks in the air. 11. Sorry, is that right? Yeah, 11 now out. So a full control group. On the opposite edge, I see 6. They're going to hold over that Spore colony while their numbers regroup. And I'm wondering if we're going to see an in-base third hatchery from Soulkey in the near future, or if he's going to potentially meander out to grab another base. Queen wandering up is going to find an Overlord. Doesn't put Soulkey in the red. But I think he realizes with the... Well, he's got Carapace advantage is the other aspect of this. So despite... Ooh, and going to be able to catch a free Mutalisk as he's making the way across. And I assume he's actually continuing that. No, he hasn't grabbed Carapace 2 as of yet. Zergling streaming across. Working on that sunken colony, diving into the drone line. 1 drone down. Second drone gets picked off. And still more damage to be done. The Mutalisks have joined the fray, though, and just with 2 glaive hits, leaving a trail of blood underneath. And Soulkey is going to go ahead and try to grab a third base in the bottom left. A Zergling's going to spot it. Soulkey now has the trouble of what does he move to defend, and does he move the control groups of Mutalisks that direction to deal with both the Zerglings and the incoming air fleet, or is he going to cancel that hatchery? I'm not sure if he realizes it's even been spotted. He will know momentarily. Looks like with what he's doing here, he's just going to force a drop a cancellation. Mutalisks making their way that direction to deal with the Zerglings. Are they going to make it in time? This is going to be close. Yeah, so gonna let that hatchery build. Second attack force that was joined to support getting picked off, so another 2 Mutalisks down. Supply lead now for Queen, despite being down 3 drones overall. And the Mutalisk going to escape, and I assume going to force a cancellation with those Mutalisks engaging, because Soulkey doesn't want to engage heads up. Yeah, cancellation with a smaller air fleet. Some Zerglings made their way to the natural expansion. Looks like they got wiped out for Queen behind this. So now all of a sudden, supply lead for Queen. He's still down 3 drones. This could be a big battle as Carapace 1 is there on both sides. I think Soulkey got the better initial engagement. And that is going to, yeah, so that is going to send Queen running. Quick reinforcement of 2 Mutalisks means he now has the superior air force. Some additional Scourge making their way up. Soulkey going to grab that interior 3 o'clock location. Mutalisks continuing to engage over that drone line to both pick off some Mutalisks, but also with the bounce of the glaives, every once in a while they swing down and pick off a drone or 2. Queen, however, with the worker lead all of a sudden, so if he can push these Mutalisks back with that plus the supply lead, he's now in a huge advantage. 4 Mutalisks exiting out with the reinforcement advantage. It looks like he was just, and actually perhaps a bit of micro, is now up 10 Mutalisk versus 4. I think this is just a decoy hatchery to allow that interior 3 o'clock location to come up, and forcing that cancellation earlier that was attempted base takes that in fact weren't Mutalisks. Soulkey just trying to do what he can with what's left. Scourge trying to dive in, but the micro is fantastic here. The Zergling's been taken out. And let's see if Queen pulls back. Yeah, he's just going to pull back to take this hatchery down. 3 o'clock is up, though. Zerglings are making their way that direction. Huge supply lead for Queen all of a sudden, but that third base, keep in mind, is up. Soulkey going to let that base complete and just get wiped out potentially. Maybe to draw troops that direction so he can go ahead and saturate and get the spore colonies up at the 3 o'clock. Way down, however, in supply. The air fleet is much smaller. A Zergling being cleared out. So Queen with a massive amount of air control, but with the spare larva and potentially a third gas, this could be an opportunity for Soulkey to swing back in it if Queen doesn't act. However, Queen has such a huge air advantage right now that I'm not sure these spore colonies are going to be sufficient to neutralize that air advantage. He's going to go ahead and grab his own hatchery at the interior 12 o'clock location. That's going to spawn much, much later. Soulkey once again with that drone lead. A couple Zerglings making the way out. Might be able to sneak in and at least confirm that 12 o'clock. Mutalisks are now... Sorry, those are Zerglings out there. Mutalisks swinging their way around. Full engagement, level 2 Carapace, by the way, versus level 1 Carapace. Zerglings able to sneak through the gaps. There are no Sunken colonies to defend, so the drones are going to have to defend themselves, and Overlord getting picked off as well. Mutalisks out in the air, but it looks like a drone did get picked off somewhere between there. That gas being pecked away at by Queen, the Spore Colony as well, and Soulkey not responding as he doesn't have sufficient Mutalisks to engage heads up, especially with level 2 Carapace there online. Queen quickly going to be able to level that Extractor. So that's equivalent to a drone down the drain. Creep Colony going to get wiped out immediately, and Soulkey just donating drones now. Zergling somehow breaching that natural expansion, able to pick off one drone and at least create a distraction. The Mutalisks are backing out behind this, realizing that this base isn't really producing anything. The Zergling going to get taken out interior to that base. No +2 Carapace for quite some time now for Queen, so Queen's going to be able to hold this air control for the long term, it looks like. More Zerglings grouping up. Big supply lead has been opened up. He's got that interior 12 o'clock up and running. That gas is now working as well. So Soulkey, upon losing that hatchery in the bottom left, losing, it looks like somewhere in the midst of this, that hatchery getting taken out again, so losing 2 hatcheries, 600 minerals that didn't turn into Mutalisks, alongside some gas, giving Queen a death grip on this game at this stage. Swinging around, also that Carapace too doesn't hurt as well. Overlord getting picked off right there. Soulkey can't lose another Overlord, otherwise he's going to be in the red, and that's potentially going to be game. Scourge making their way up to try to create a dash blockade. A lot of hits on the Mutalisks. Re-engaging, however. And with a control group split, it looked like Soulkey wasn't microing there for a second. Third base has once again been cleared. Zerglings sweeping their way around. Scourge engaging, catching the Mutalisks while they weren't reacting. So able to get some damage right there. Still a 30 supply lead for Queen. Now he does not care about these spore colonies, nor what's spawning at this third base is just dropping on top of absolutely everything. Now bothering to remicro. But as everything levels out, Queen still has the overall drone lead. He's still mining happily at that interior 12 o'clock, critically mining on that gas, is able to refill this attack force. Soulkey trying to get a desperation hatchery in the bottom left. More drones trying to be built, but they're very exposed. Another Overlord picked off. 20 supply lead for Queen, which is nigh insurmountable at this stage of the game in ZvZ. It would take an absolute miracle to pull this back out. Mutalisks continuing to pick off Overlord. Soulkey now in the red, and I think that is going to be it. With that Overlord getting picked off, I think he's just hoping that this blind hatchery gets built. Might be a bit of kind of a late game, managed to pull it off sort of thing. Some Zerglings mixing it up at the interior 12. Looks like they were able to pick off a drone or two. Still not going to be sufficient. Soulkey going to call GG right there, I think, realizing that, yeah, that base was mining forever and he just wasn't going to be able to keep up with it. So Queen taking the game overall. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Fun back and forth match. Thanks for listening.